Welcome to VARINDIA News Hour. Is Google spying by collecting users' data from its phone and messaging app? Google's phone and messaging apps for Android were reportedly collecting and sending data to Google without users' consent and without an option to opt out of it. The data included a hash of the message text and time and duration of calls, a paper by Dublin professor Douglas Leith said. Leith also shared his findings with Google and suggested changes. Whereas Google said it plans to test monitoring user health through their smartphone microphones and cameras. We are investigating whether built-in microphones can detect heartbeats and help enable early detection of heart valve disorders, Google AI's Senior Research Director Corrado said. He added that Google will also test if photos from smartphones can be used to detect diseases like diabetes. The report says Google has been collecting extremely detailed data about the calls you make via the phone app and the text messages exchanged on your Android phone. Google used these Android apps to export massive amounts of data to its servers, and it did so without informing users or obtaining consent. This sort of behavior might go against privacy protections that should exist in Android by law in some markets like the EU's GDPR policies. It could be seen as spying on users. The report comes at a time when Google keeps trying to convince users that user privacy is important. But while Android users willfully agree to Google tracking them and collecting personal data that it can turn into ads, they have never explicitly told Google that it could collect sensitive phone and text data. In this case, Google might be getting shorter hashed versions of the texts you sent and received in messages. But it can't see the actual text as they are turned into alphanumeric gibberish. Still, given enough computing resources and time, someone might decode some of the shorter messages. However, the apps do not disclose these data collection practices. But Google requires Android developers to inform users about the kind of data their apps collect. One could argue that all that metadata from the phone and messages app would allow Google to track Android users. Each app has about 1 billion users, which makes the data collection all the more impressive. But the question is, why is Google spying on your calls and texts? Google offers a few smart features in the phone and messages apps that might require such data tracking. The phone app can prevent spam calls, but to do it, it needs to collect data, as 9 to 5 Google reports. However, Google says that it is collecting phone data for spam protection and caller ID functionality. The company said that it only collected logs of numbers not in your contact list, but this still does not excuse the fact that it gave customers no option to opt out of this. Let's look into today's headlines in VARINDIA. Pegasus Probe Committee seeks responses from public on 11 queries. The expert committee appointed by the Supreme Court to probe the alleged use of Pegasus spyware against journalists, opposition politicians, judges and others has sought responses from the public on 11 queries. The committee was set up last year, led by former Supreme Court Justice R.V. Ravindran. The form seeks suggestions for ways to strengthen cybersecurity, setting up a grievance redressal mechanism for a person subjected to state surveillance laws and safeguards to strengthen cybersecurity, methods of balancing individual rights with national security interests, ways to strengthen the procedures for state agencies to use surveillance, and so on. Indiamart to acquire majority stake in Livekeeping. B2B e-commerce company Indiamart Intermesh plans to acquire 51% stake in software-as-a-service firm Livekeeping for Rs 45.98 crores in an all-cash deal. As per the agreement, Indiamart will subscribe to Livekeeping's 6,843 seed CCPS of the face value of Rs 10 each at a premium of Rs 51,138 per share, aggregating to around Rs 35 crores. It will further purchase 2,147 equity shares of Livekeeping at the same price from one of the promoters, aggregating to approximately Rs 10.98 crores. URL rendering trick allows WhatsApp Signal iMessage phishing. A rendering technique affecting the world's leading messaging and email platforms, including Instagram, iMessage, WhatsApp, Signal, and Facebook Messenger, allowed threat actors to create legitimate-looking phishing messages for the past 3 years. The vulnerabilities are providing bugs resulting in the app's interface incorrectly displaying URLs with injected right to left override Unicode control characters, making the user vulnerable to URI spoofing attacks. Glance purchases Gambit Sports. InMobi-owned lock screen platform Glance announced the acquisition of Bengaluru-based Gambit Sports to strengthen its gaming offerings. The company also entered into a business partnership with Jio Platforms, through which Glance's lock screen platform will be integrated into JioPhone Next smartphones. Glance will use Gambit's expertise to launch live gaming experiences including tournaments, game shows, game streamings and multiplayer games on lock screen. OnePlus India to launch OnePlus 10 Pro and 2 new earphones soon. OnePlus 10 Pro will be launched in India on March 31st and will simultaneously launch in Europe and North America. OnePlus will also launch the Buds Pro truly wireless earbuds in a new radiant silver colorway globally. The long-rumored OnePlus Bullet Wireless Z2 wireless earphones will also launch on the same day only in India. That's all for now. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to VARINDIA News Magazine. You can download the VARINDIA app from Google Play Store and Apple App Store for the latest news and updates. Stay tuned. Thank you.